Okay, so mates, I've started preparing the skirt part of this lovely gown. I tuck in the hem part and I sewed on 1/2 inch and I tuck in 1/4 inch inside. Remember I said that to do a pleated flare skirt. Okay, so what I did is I divided the waist into 2 and then I divided it into 4 and then I notched my 4 points. Then in one part of it I secured the center line and then I share the remaining parts like so. I use a pin to to hold it into place. So what I want to do now, I want to sew it down a little bit on this center part to give the effect I'm actually looking out for. Let me say I'm going to sew it down now on 4 inch and then I'll sew the upper part just to hold this pleat in place. So I'm going to do the first one with you, then I've done the other part, but I just thought to show us what I've done. So what I did is, first of all, I measured the part I want to pleat. It's about 3 inches. Okay, so at that point that I want the pleat to start, I'm going to sew it down now sew it down by like 4 inches out of stitch. So after sewing it down, I will now divide this remaining part into 2 and spread it across. You see that? So I will just sew this place just to hold it in place. So here is it, soulmate tucking pleat. So it's like this, allowing the pleat to just fall on its own like this. Okay, that is it. I will go and iron it out. So soulmates, our strap is ready. Okay, I use this to turn it out, so it's ready. So I'll just cut out this excess and we'll keep it aside. So I decided to put a belt. For that, I'm still going to put a band in front. The width is 2 inches, 2.5. I'm actually going to sew on 1/2 inch, so it's 2 inch. So I'm going to sew it down now and turn it over, and then I'll sew the belt. Okay, so for the belt, the length is 37 inches by 2 inches. I decided to a triangular shape for this belt. Okay, so I'm going to sew it down now on 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm done sewing the belt. I'm going to try and turn it over now. So to do that, I'm going to try to push it in this way. It's actually not difficult. I'm going to use this, and be pushing it in. Okay, it's out. Okay, so I'll turn the other one now. I'll go and give all of them a good press, and then we'll continue with the upper bodies. So I'm done with the hardness preparation. I'll keep this aside now. It's time to prepare the 2 ruffles that we're going to attach at the lower part of this gown. And to do that, I cut so many layers of these 2 nets. The width of this is 5 inches. So I'm going to do this with my needle and thread. So you may have to knot your needle and thread. We start doing our gathers. This is 2 layers, so that it can give me a good volume. So this is it. I'll keep doing these gathers until I get as much as I want to. Okay, so this is how to go about it. I'll go ahead and do this off camera as fast as I can, and I'll show you. So mates, this is how much I have gathered. This is our ruffle tools. Can you see? Fix this now. I have to cut I cut out another 180 degrees flare for this, and the lower part of it is where I'm going to attach these ruffles. This lower part, I've gone ahead to hold it in place with my crinoline. I sewed it in, and I fold it in so that I can put it in place. Okay, what I used was this crinoline. So what I did was to sew it at the hem part by 1/4 inch down, after which I folded it in like so, and I did a top stitch on top to keep it in place. So that was what I've done here all round. So the next thing now is I'm going to place the two nets on top of this, and this becomes a very good guide, and then I'm going to sew it down on 1/2 inch all the way round. So you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to control the fullness as I sew it down. How much volume you want is up to you, so you keep pushing it backwards and keep adjusting. You don't want to rush this part, so mates, take your time. Come to the end. Our ruffle is ready. Can you see that? And it's so full. Oh my god. So mates, I've finished preparing the lining, so the down part is ready. What I've done so far is just to use a pin and pin it down after matching it up properly to make sure that everything has aligned. So they are all pinned and they are aligned. So what I'll do now is to sew it down on 1/2 inch. Okay, so mates, you are done with the lining. So I'll quickly pin down, match up the main fabric, pin it down, and then we'll sew. I'll try to get the midpoint. So I'll pin first to check if they properly align before I'll start sewing. Don't just assume. You have to do it, match it up before you start sewing, and pin it down as you are matching it like so. Keep pinning it to make it so it can stay in place for you. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and sew it down on 1/2 inch. Please, if you get to this point, please, I'll advise you tuck it in like in a triangular form, okay, and then sew on it. On getting to this point again, I'm going to fold it in like so, and I sew it. Okay, we are done. I want to notch at this point. So here is our gown. The next thing to do now is to attach our zipper, and then we'll start doing the embellishments with the sleeve. Okay, now to fix our zipper, what I do is to measure from this half length joint, measure 6 inches or 7 down. Okay, so you can see I already put a mark to it. I put my pin there, and I measure this other part just to be sure. So what I'll do next is to grab both of them like so and sew it down on 1 inch. Remember, my zip allowance was 1 inch, so I'm going to sew it down on 1 inch down. Then I'll come back and place my zip on this upper part and fix it. So let's do that. First, you have to turn your fabric. You know, we are sewing on the wrong side. I'll make sure that this half length matches up properly. I'll make sure I can as well pin it down. Then I come straight to this point and start sewing on 1 inch. Okay, once I sew it down, I'll open up this allowance space like this and tack it down. Okay, then I'll go and iron it and make sure that it's laying in place. So next, I'll turn it over and then we'll fix our zipper. I have to turn it over and then I'll place my zipper like right side facing right side. Then I'll begin to sew. Remember, I'm sewing on 1 inch allowance. So we sew it down like so, top stitch, and then turn it over so we can sew this other side. Okay, and then we'll begin to sew on 1 inch allowance. Make sure that this midpoint align very well. Quickly go and sew down the lining. Remember what we did for the main fabric. Measure the length that you want to attach your zipper on, then hold the remaining one down like this and sew it down on 1 inch. So I'm going to do that now and I'll show you. Next, I'll grab my lining, right side facing right side with the zipper in between. So I'm going to sew on 1 inch on top of that zipper to keep it in place. Notch. As you can see, everything matches up